guys, welcome to my channel. So basically this channel is going to be for like conspiracy theories, crime videos, crime cases, murder cases, all that. And today we're going to be talking about JonBenét Ramsey, her murder case. This case is just so frustrating and it's so famous still to this day because even after like 20 years, there's no one. They don't know who did it. It's a cold case. They have no leads. All the evidence was like tampered with, and it's just really frustrating because this 6-year-old died in her own house and no one knows what happened. So JonBenét Ramsey was a 6-year-old, young, very pretty girl. She competed in pageants, and pedophiles like come to pageants to see these young girls dressed in very revealing outfits and singing and doing very revealing things, dancing, singing dirty lyrics to songs.
I wanna be a cowboy sweetheart. I wanna learn to rope and to ride.
So she was in pageants and she was very, very beautiful, as you can see in the pictures. But the Ramsey family consisted of her mom, Patsy, her dad, JonBenét, who she was named after, and her brother, Burke, who was 9, so he was 3 years older than her. And their family was very rich because the dad had a very good job, so they lived in a very big mansion. So they lived in a very nice neighborhood, and they were just a very rich, nice, typical family. On December 25th, 1996, the family went to one of their friends' houses to just, hang out, have a Christmas party, and JonBenét Ramsey ended up falling asleep. So, like what you would do whenever we were younger, they just picked her up, put her in the car, and when they got home, they put her to bed in her room, and that was it. But then, at 5:52 the next morning, the police got a frantic call from Patsy claiming that her daughter was kidnapped and they have no idea what happened and that she's missing and there's a ransom note. Now, what's very interesting is right after she got off the phone, she basically called all of their family, all these friends over to their house, I guess to help look for JonBenét Ramsey, which is very interesting because all the evidence was tampered with, all of these footprints, just all these people in this house of this crime scene. It's just terrible talking about tampered evidence. So basically the Boulder County Police showed up and they didn't do a good job of keeping these people out of this house. So all this evidence is tampered with and all these people are walking around this house, which terrible. And anyways, because the house was so big, they sent the dad to go look for around the house, see if they could find anything. And he went to the basement and found JonBenét Ramsey wrapped up in a blanket. And what did he do? He picked her up and carried her upstairs, crying, upset, obviously. But this is not a very good thing. He should have just left her there because now his evidence is all over the blanket. And he should have just left her there because now there's even more evidence tampered with. So let's talk about the evidence of this case. So basically there weren't any signs of forced entry, so that means no one came in, no one broke in, and there weren't any footprints in the snow that was outside. So this led to the parents being a prime suspect in the case. And then the ransom note was a big piece of evidence because it was 3 pages long and it was written in the Ramsey home on the notepad by their telephone. Which is very weird because if you are a criminal breaking into a house and just kill someone, you're not going to sit in their kitchen and write a 3-page ransom note and just like quote lines from movies. Their grammar was way off. Like, it's just very odd. It looked like they were rushing and that it was just written in a split second and they had no idea what they were saying. It was also very weird because they were asking for money and they were asking for the exact bonus that JonBenét Ramsey's father got that year, which is very weird because how would you know that, first of all? And second of all, if they're a very rich family, why would you only ask for that small amount? So that didn't make sense. And then the note was sent to the analysis team and they compared it to the writing of the father and the mom, and they could rule out the dad, but they couldn't rule out Patsy. And in the pictures, I'll show you how similar the writing is. And it's very weird. I mean, in my opinion, I think they look very similar. When analyzing her body, they found that she was strangled with a garrote, which is like a piece from a paintbrush, and they found that the paintbrush was actually from Patsy's painting kit, which is very strange if you ask me. And they also found that she was hit on her head with a very strong object, which they never were able to figure out what object that was exactly. But most people figured out or thought that it was this black flashlight that they had, this very big black flashlight, but it was never confirmed. And then it was also found out that the cause of death was actually strangulation. But it's very weird because the strangulation didn't happen up to 45 minutes to 2 hours after being hit on the head. So basically, she was hit on the head, then 45 minutes to 2 hours later, she was strangled. They also found a piece of duct tape over her mouth with fibers from Patsy's sweater that she was wearing that night, which is very weird, very strange. But what's also very strange that people question is that on her death stone, they put 25 as the date when she died, not 26. Which people question that because how did they know that it was that night, December 25th, but not in the morning of December 26th? It's like they knew when she died, which people thought was very strange because no one ever ruled exactly when she died. A few days after calling police and all of the investigation, they just stopped talking to police. They're like, I'm not talking to you anymore. But they went to talk to TV, like TV shows, but not the police, which is very strange because why wouldn't you want to talk to the police if they're trying to help like figure out who killed your daughter?
He said, if I were to ask you to take a lie detector test, what would you say? And I said, I would be offended. That's what I would say. I wasn't interested in proving my innocence at that point. That
we
was
were frightened.
a non-issue.
There's a murderer loose.
So that's very weird. Now, we're going to talk about her brother, Burke, who was 9 at the time. So he claims that he was laying in his bed and he woke up when his mom came in screaming that morning saying, like, JonBenét's missing, like, she's kidnapped, like, I don't know where she is, like, screaming. And he was just lying there. And he seemed very calm. According to people, he wasn't freaking out. But it's very strange because on the police call, the police operator on the other side of the phone claimed that she heard 3 voices besides the mom because she forgot to hang up. So basically she heard like 3 voices. So obviously it seems like they were hiding something because if they said that he was asleep the whole time until she came in, he obviously wasn't if there was 3 voices. Now to my favorite, or not my favorite, but just like craziest part of this is this bowl of pineapple and milk that was found on the table in this house that night. So basically, JonBenét's Ramsey's favorite like snack dessert was a bowl of pineapple and milk. And on that bowl of pineapple was DNA and fingerprints from Patsy and Burke. But when the autopsy came through, it showed that undigested pineapple was like in her stomach. So that means that it had recently been eaten. Other evidence found at this scene was DNA under her fingernails, which means she was probably trying to fight off someone, and that's how it got under. And there was also DNA in her underwear, but those 2 parts of DNA were never identified, and no one knows who that came from. Some people thought the Santa that came in for the family Christmas thing, they thought maybe he did it, but he had a heart condition, like heart surgery, so he was ruled out. Then there was Michael, who confessed and killed himself, but he was ruled out because it was never proven. And then there was John, Mike Carr, who claimed that he did it, but he just did that because he was obsessed with her and basically was in love with her. There were so many suspects that kept on like claiming that they did it, but it was never proven that they did it. They just, people calling in saying they did it, but they didn't actually do it. But it just kept this case going on for 20 years. But sadly, in 2008, Patsy died from ovarian cancer, so she never got to figure out what happened to her daughter, even though I personally think she knew what happened. Now we're going to talk about Burke a little bit again. He is very strange, to say the least. He never did any interviews until this recent one with Dr. Phil, and the one with Dr. Phil is just so strange. He's smiling, talking about his dead sister and laughing. He's very fidgety. He seems uncomfortable, nervous. It's just, if you're talking about your dead sister, you wouldn't be smiling and laughing, I feel like. It was just very odd. I know he's been through a lot. Maybe his sister died, and that's just how he is because of it. But I personally think that the way he's acting about his sister's death is very, very strange.
I remember the casket was small and her eyes were closed. I think one of her eyes was a little bit like droopy or something. I thought that was weird. The first thing I remember is my mom bursting in my room, really frantic, saying like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh," running around my room looking for JonBenét. At that point, I was awake.
So now for my theory. So after doing research, I found out that Burke was a very violent kid, and he sometimes hit his sister, which, you know, siblings fight all the time, which I've never hit my sister, but, you know, maybe that's what other siblings do. Anyways, my theory is that he got mad and hit her, and he didn't mean to like knock her out, but he did. He hit her too hard, and then the family was scared of losing another kid, so they staged the whole thing, and then staged the strangulation, which I think they thought that she died from the hit from the son, so they fake strangled her, but that strangulation that they did to her is actually what killed her, not the hitting on the head. That's just knocked her out. So I think JonBenét woke up that night and went downstairs and saw her mom and her brother eating the pineapple, the bowl of pineapple and the milk, which, you know, it only had their DNA on the thing. So I think she went up and grabbed the pineapple and took a bite, and he got mad. So he grabbed the black flashlight and hit her on the head and knocked her out. And the family was like, "Oh my gosh, we can't lose another kid, so we need to go put her down there, make it look like she died from strangulation," which she actually did, but they thought she died from being hit on the head from Burke. And then they wrote the ransom note really fast, which it could explain why there are so many misspellings. It's just the writing matches up with the mom. It's just the money that they asked for is very strange. The ransom note is very, very strange. Other theorists claim that an intruder did it and he just got away with it. But I really think the ransom note just really proves that the family did it. The mom wrote it, and Patsy was still wearing the outfit she was wearing from the night before whenever she went to the party at her friend's house. So I think that's just what really proves it. But these are just theories. I'm not claiming this is what happened, because police have ruled this out. But it was very interesting because a while ago a grand jury told them that they should do this case again. But then police shut it down because they said the evidence doesn't match up. But again, this is a very sad case, and a young girl, she died and her life was taken away, and I think that's terrible. And I feel bad for the family. I don't know if they did it, but it's just a terrible case in general. I feel very bad for the girl because she had a life for her that was full of opportunities because she was such a pretty young girl. But again, these are just theories, and I'm not saying this is actually what happened. But yeah, just this case is very frustrating. Whenever I think about a crime case, I think about this one, because it's just crazy how no one has been able to figure out what happened to this girl. She just died. She just was found dead in her basement, and no one can figure out what happened, because those people were let in, the evidence was tampered with. It's just crazy what happened. So I want to know what you guys think. Yeah, I just want to know, and I hope you guys like this. I know the low lighting is really bad because it's nighttime, but I was just so excited to film this. So yeah, let me know what happened.